Hello, everybody. This is Anna K. Morris with We Play Everywhere, and I am beyond excited to have Amy K. of Amy K. International joining us today. She's going to tell us a little bit about who she is and why she is playful around the word fulfillment. So, Amy, welcome. Amy K., welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Anna. It's great to be here.
Good.
You want me to dive in?
Dive in, yeah. Let's get people started and why they should listen to you.
Well, that's a really great question. Why should you listen? Because I am a skosh nerdy, but I love what I do. And that's part of maybe where my passion and my inspiration comes from, is that I get to help people maximize and actualize their brilliance. And I do it all over the world, and I do it with senior leaders and executive teams. And my focus is critical thinking. So I'm always asking, how can we be better problem solvers? How can we think through processes and systems? How do we do that both for the people that we lead so that we're worthy of our followers? But then how do we do it for ourselves so that we too can get the most out of this incredible journey?
Absolutely. So, Amy K., it sounds like you have a huge scope. You work with the world and critical thinking and really, getting people down to their core so that they can best lead the people that are following them, right?
Yes. And so my focus areas are typically leadership, innovation, and neurosales. And really, that's just a fancy way of saying that I'm working with people's behaviors in the workplace. And it's so funny because a guy on the plane the other day is like, "What do you do?" And I was like, "Technically, I tame wild animals." And he's like, "Wow, so cool." And I was like, "Yes, I work with, leaders."
Yeah, exactly. So we're now going to be going over and doing the live video show with you. I'm super excited. We're going to be talking about the word fulfillment. So if you are not a member and want to become a member to get the full interview with Amy K., then please go to weplayeverywhere.com, click on membership and join. You will get a video vault of all of this greatness. And before we tune off of YouTube, why don't you tell us a little bit about why you are playful in regards to fulfillment? Because that's what we're talking about today.
I think, like everybody else, one of the things that we've all tried to figure out is really how to define happiness. And that's a part of the whole fulfillment. Where is it that we're going to get this? I always say that fulfillment is the intersection between pleasure and purpose.
Yes.
And then the question is, then how do you create that intersection in the best way for you? How do you customize that intersection? So that's what we're going to be exploring together.
I love it. Okay, so sayonara. We'll see you in the membership video vault. And Amy K., let's keep going with that. So fulfillment. So we met recently, and what little I knew of you, right? Because I walked in cold. I didn't know anything about Amy K. International. A friend invited me to hear you speak. And what I was so aware of was that you were at the intersection of your purpose and your passion, right?
I am. Yeah. And it's taken me a long time to get there. And so, and when I say that, I mean, I didn't, I'm probably a half full kind of girl.
Yeah.
In fact, even sometimes I'm like, oh, just the glass is too large. But I very much know that we all struggle with that, or that there are chapters in our life where we struggle with that. We'll set some big milestone and we'll achieve it, but it doesn't quite fulfill us.
Yes.
And we're sort of like, wow, maybe it was the pursuit of that was more exciting. And of course, there's been lots of research that is important to us, having goals to strive for. Sometimes it's the striving that's more meaningful than the actual attainment of the goal.
Absolutely.
But I also believe, Anna, that it's really important that we have an understanding of what brings us pleasure and what brings us purpose. There are things that we think that are going to be fulfilling, and we'll spend a lot of time working on them because they are fun along the way, but there's not as much meaning there. And when I talk about pleasure, I want to be really careful. It's not that it's rainbows and unicorns every single day.
Although we love rainbows and unicorns.
Yeah, it's okay, but it's not every day. And so for me, it's really helping people to get clear on what are your desires. Now, I take a question from Danielle Laporte. I give her full credit. I think it's a brilliant question, and she's a goddess. I think she's amazing.
I love her.
But she's always asking, how do you want to feel? And I think that is a great question. And I don't mean sitting on a couch in therapy. I mean, what are your core desires that she talks about? And then prioritizing those activities that bring those feelings into your life creates a tremendous opportunity to be at the intersection of pleasure and purpose.
Yeah, so I guess I want to pose that question to you then. So how do you want to feel?
Well, I'm type A.
Yeah.
So even though Danielle's like, fine, 2 or 3, I'm like, I have 6.
Yeah, yeah.
But for me, it's about clarity and then alignment with your calendar. And so we hear this all the time.
Okay, wait a minute. You said clarity and alignment with your calendar.
Yep.
That's a new one.
Okay. So I'm not a fan of balance.
Oh, I love this so much. This is great because that's not what people say.
Okay, I think it's a total myth.
Oh my God, this is awesome. Okay, I'm so excited.
The pursuit of balance actually causes you to be more stressed out because it's very difficult to be in balance.
Okay.
So one of the things that we teach when we do our life programs, when we're working on personal development with leaders, one of the first things that I say is, let's just get rid of balance because you don't lead a balanced life and you're never going to lead a balanced life. But you can lead a prioritized life.
Okay.
And that means that things are going to shift all the time. And so today, for instance, today we're doing this webinar and it's wonderful and we're work focused. Your kids aren't in it and our dogs aren't in it and our aunt and our uncles and all the other charities that we work on aren't a part of this call today.
Right.
That's okay.
Right.
Today we prioritize this because this is bringing us in alignment with some of the things that we want to do. So for instance, one of my core desires is generosity. I want to be generous. And so when you and I met in Houston, one of the first things that you said is, I'm launching this incredible new adventure, a new chapter of my life. And I was like, okay, how can I play with you? Right. Because I believe in that. So I'm having a great time today because here we're being significantly meaningful for all of your members, which is another one of my core desires. We're being super creatively original through the whole way that we're approaching this dialogue, which is another one of my core desires. And I get to be generous. And so that leads to fulfillment. I'm right now in this moment at the intersection of pleasure and purpose because we're having fun and this is meaningful to me.
So you've got a list of 6 things, right?
Yes.
That you've identified you want to feel.
Yep.
Okay. So my question now is, do you look to have at least, 3 of those, like at least 1? I mean, how is it with somebody? I mean, you're busy. I believe you travel all but 6 weeks out of the year.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So like, y'all, if you think you're busy, you're not as busy as Amy Kay.
There's no competition. There's no competition.
Yes.
I love to pin the blue ribbon on somebody else's chest.
Yeah. But but that's so cool. We're so quick to say like, oh, I'm too busy for that, or oh, I'm too busy. And it's really that like, oh, it's not a priority.
Yes. And I think, I'll be a little irreverent. I think a lot of women, we struggle with guilt, whether we were raised Catholic or not. And so there's a part of me that feels like when we go to say yes or no, we're constantly, that little bubble above our head is what would they think if I say no? What would someone think if I said yes? And so when I talk about clarity with alignment of your calendar, I'm not asking you to get rid of 5,000 things or say yes to all the wrong stuff. What I'm saying is you have to prioritize these core desires, or you have to prioritize your values first. And if you don't put those on the calendar first, you're going to achieve a lot of things in a 90-mile-an-hour lifestyle. Because I know there are millions of women, millions of men who are running 90 miles per hour. The problem is at the end of the marathon, they're empty. There's no fulfillment because they've been doing a lot of stuff, but it didn't have any purpose behind it. And so what I'm talking about is just saying, for instance, if I go back to my, I want to be creatively original and I want to be significantly meaningful. Like those are my top 2. Okay. So this was the year that I said, you know what? One of the most creative things that I can do that's the most meaningful is to finally write this book that I've been talking about for years.
Yes.
And I did it. Yes. But that's because I put that first over a lot of other things. So so there are some other things that I love. Didn't do them this year. That's okay. It's not about balance. It's about priorities.
I love that. Well, and there's a great sense of freedom in what you're saying, because this whole show, this whole company is about how do we create ourselves as playful in a place that may not be playful. There are a lot of people that I talk to on a daily basis that are unfulfilled in their careers, unfulfilled perhaps in a relationship. And so here we are suggesting that you could be playful, right?
Yes.
Around the word fulfillment. And what, I'm sorry, I think you have something to say about
No, keep going. I'm excited. Go.
Yeah, I know, we both are. But I love that analogy of getting to the end of the marathon, and it's like, then there's nothing. There's absolutely nothing. And I've been dealing with that myself in launching this new platform and really diving into it, and had no balance as well. And now that I'm coming out, I'm like, oh, well, wait a minute. I was doing all of this because it fulfills me.
Yes.
Right? And so all of the things that were seemingly hard were actually really playful for me, because it was all along the path of fulfillment.
Yeah, and there's one of the things that I think that's also a myth with happiness and some of the research that we've done. So for those who still don't know me very well, my background's in the brain. I'm a total geek. But one of the things that we now know from happiness research is that if things are too easy, like if things are without struggle,
right,
they're less a sense of accomplishment. You have less pleasure from it. So there is something about the striving. I mean, you probably have had, I'm just going to go on a wild, stance on the edge of a skinny branch and say that you probably have had blood, sweat, and tears to get you to today.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But that's what makes it so meaningful, too.
It is.
Like, if you had just snapped your fingers and, all of a sudden had this incredible business, you'd be like, okay, but what's next?
Exactly.
And it's that what's next question. Although I do think, one of the things, Anna, that I will say, two identifiers that I ask a lot of my CEO clients is that I will say there are two ways that you will know when you're starting to be fulfilled. And there's just two things to recognize that start to happen in your life. And one of them is that you start to feel the way that you want to feel more of the time.
Yep.
So you'll catch yourself. You'll be more self-aware. You'll notice that you're like, okay, this is bringing me meaning. Or I noticed that today I had a really good day, or I felt significant when I did this. Or I'm more aligned now. I can feel it. I'm starting to prioritize things that bring me more joy. Right. So you'll start to see that. Right. The other thing that I say is a huge eye-opener is you stop comparing yourself. And when you stop comparing yourself, you know that you're getting closer and closer to fulfillment.
Oh,
Mark Twain, I'm irreverent, he's irreverent, but Mark Twain, obviously a long time ago, said that comparison is the death of joy. And I really believe that.
Yep.
And so to me, when you're no longer competing against others, but you're competing against yourself, you'll find that you're more fulfilled.
It's so perfect that you said that, because our online community lives in a private Facebook group. And that was something that I've really struggled with, because it's a dangerous place to be, especially, slightly unfulfilled with a glass of wine late in the evening. Yeah. And that, I struggled with that, because I was like, do I want to put people in a situation to have to go through perhaps a dangerous area in order to get to the group that really, can make the difference? And I found this amazing thing that solved it, called Facebook Group app. So it's been phenomenal for my life that I never have to go to Facebook. I just go straight to the group that reminds me to play every day.
That's it. That's music to my ears. I never have to go to Facebook.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay with that.
Yeah. So, that's what's been so great, is any group you want to be a part of, there's this group app, and then you can go in, because I noticed when I was creating this and really humming and hawing and figuring things out, that there was so much comparison, because I knew that I wasn't doing the things that I really wanted to be doing. And so I found myself jealous of the people doing the things I wanted to do. Yeah.
But you have to be kind to yourself on that too. Yeah. I mean, that's part of the human behavior. That's part of our DNA, is to be competitive for our own sense of survival.
Yeah.
But that's why I go back to the clarity. It's the, what are you jealous about? And then what are you doing with it? Jealousy is not bad in and of itself, because it's a marker for what's going on inside of you.
Yes.
But you have to ask yourself, what's the trigger?
Yep.
So it's not beating yourself up for being jealous.
Right.
It's stopping and saying, okay, what's behind it? What is it that I'm feeling that I have a lack of? Or what am I, what's it all about? And then what do I do with that information?
Absolutely. Yeah, I along the lines of Danielle LaPorte, Gabrielle Bernstein.
Great.
Love. And I've done many of her classes and different things with her. And she there was an exercise where she had us use jealousy as a roadmap of what we actually wanted. And that was an impetus for me to start We Play Everywhere. was to use my jealousy, right, that was seemingly bad, as this great guide to tell me what really lit me up when there were times that I wasn't sure that I knew.
Yeah, no, I think, and again, that's a brilliant way to use that information, because the better question is what is jealousy here to teach you? And so it's just finding the right question.
Yeah, will you say that? Because that brings me back to what you spoke about in the lecture, in the talk in Houston. It was about the question. Will you share that with everybody? I think.
Well, my background in the brain is that one of the things that I know too about the brain is that it doesn't trigger on statements. It triggers on questions.
Yeah.
And so you can say something like, "I want fulfillment." And your brain at the back of it at a subconscious level is like, oh, me too, I want that too. But it doesn't know what to do with that statement. So when you say, how do I create fulfillment? Then your brain starts to go into associational thinking and playing with ideas. And so if we kind of marry this whole idea of we're going to play everywhere, and part of that is fulfillment, one of the first things that you have to do is you have to let your brain play. You have to let your brain play with concepts and ideas and possibilities, but in the goal to get clear. And that's one of the things that I've noticed too with high achievers and type A'ers that are probably going to be on this site because they care and they want to improve their lives, is that they want to make a decision and they want to figure it out right away. And one of the things that I'll often tell people is just ask your brain the question and then give it time to play with it.
Yeah.
And that might be a really good thing to come out with fulfillment too, is the idea that if I said to you today, fulfillment is the intersection of pleasure and purpose, then really your question is to go back and say, well then, where is my intersection between pleasure and purpose? Yeah. How am I going to define pleasure? Because again, it's not being busy doing quote unquote fun things. It's finding ways to enjoy your life, all the roles that you play, prioritize time for each, and then look at something out in the world and go, you know what, that makes me feel significant. And that is a big human part of our DNA as well, and that is to feel like we are contributing to something outside of ourselves.
Yeah. Oh man. I mean, I could be, taking notes throughout all of this. So, good thing this is saved in the video vault, because people are going to want to go back and keep listening to this.
Well, this is my nerdy kind of awesomeness.
This is amazing. I've had chill bumps through the whole thing, not to get too woo woo, but I'm like, oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
Because that's something that I've always looked at is like, how does it actually make me feel? Right? Yeah. Whether it's around, we were just recently talking with Sandra Yancey, who I know about friendship. And that was something that I had to go and do some cleaning house, because there are certain relationships that I noticed I didn't feel good after spending time with somebody. And I think that goes into fulfillment quite naturally as well.
It does.
Yes, July 4th is a great time for celebration, except we'd had a pool party and I wanted to be in bed at 8:00 at night. And
what did you choose, Anna?
I went to bed, actually.
Good!
Yeah.
Now, see, that's a response most people will not say. Most people will be like, oh, I tried to please everybody.
No, I couldn't do it, because I know that, especially in kind of having the helm, and I know as a business owner, like if I'm flat and unavailable, then none of this happens. Right.
But that's a mature understanding, and I think that's part of an evolution too. Yeah. Somebody the other day, I was on a panel, and they're like, if you could go back to your 20-year-old self, and give them great advice, what would you say? And of course, my first response was, don't marry him. But that's a different workshop. But I think that one of the things that we learn as we go through our 30s and then our 40s and then our 50s is to say, I need to start realizing that prioritizing myself is no longer selfish. It actually makes me better as a giver and a server to the world. And so the fact that you said you went to bed, I'm thrilled to hear that, because what you then offer Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is going to be far more fulfilling for you and everybody else that you come in contact with than if you start Monday morning in a resentful place.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's really something, a key piece of fulfillment is putting myself in my calendar. So you had said something earlier about that calendar, right?
Okay, so we'll go back to that.
Yeah, because I want to leave people with like, what can they take away from this right now? What are a couple of actions that they can take to start creating more fulfillment in their life? And that's something that I had to start doing was, to put in, it's really easy for me to say like, it's not important to go to yoga, or it's not important to get 8 hours of sleep, or no, I can just stop and get something and I don't need to, have healthy food at home. And I actually had to put that in my calendar.
Yep.
So what are some tips and tools? And sadly, we have to wrap this up. I think we could go on much longer.
No, this is great. So let's close with like, if you could take one action item and start it immediately. One of the things that I do on at least a weekly basis, I try to do it a couple times during the week as well, but at least on a Sunday night or a Monday morning or whenever you can sit down once a week, is I say, what do I most need to feel? And when I do that, what do I most need to feel? Then I prioritize that. So you might be saying things like, I need to feel rested. I need to feel content. I need to feel more gratitude. I need to feel more generous. I need to feel more loved. I need to feel more playful. Mm-hmm. And then you look at that and you go, well, then what am I craving? That's the next question. Okay. Then what is going to actually feed that desire or feed that feeling? And then that gets prioritized. So when busy executive moms are like, I need to not be mom, or I need a break, then I say, okay, then you have to carve in 45 minutes or 60 minutes where you are allowed to go refuel so that you can take care of yourself. And it's also with the healthy thing. I think that's interesting that you brought that up too. I had one client a couple years ago, and he said something like, I want to be healthy. He was completely out of shape, on the energy drink diet. Yeah. And I just said, then you have to prioritize just having healthy snacks in the fridge. Like, let's just make that you come home, you're starving. The first thing you do is chips and salsa. Salsa's not bad. It's the chips that were killing him. So I said, you've just got to prioritize having snacks in the fridge. And he's like, I don't go to the store. I'm like, you don't have to do it. Yeah. You just have to prioritize how it's going to get done.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that was a big thing because I'm a New Yorker. And so when I moved to Texas and I wasn't next to a fruit stand or something easy and fast, I was like, what do you mean I have to go to the grocery store?
Yeah.
Like I literally had meltdowns in the grocery store and I had to start scheduling it.
And if you're like most people, it's 4 grocery stores before you actually get everything crossed off on your list. It's like, how do we do this?
Yeah, exactly.
I do think that's a great way to start, is to ask yourself, how do I want to feel? What's going to fuel that feeling? And then how does that get prioritized in the calendar? And then your calendar goes from there, because you'll have incredible energy. I mean, it's the classic, I'm too busy to go to the gym. As soon as people start to go to the gym or start to exercise, they actually get more energy to do all the other things that they weren't doing.
Yep, absolutely. Well, this could go on for much, much longer. And I'm super excited that you got into action and got your book done.
Thank you.
Tell us what the name of it is. And
Yeah, no, it's The Secrets Leaders Keep. Okay. And I'll give you a very, very quick story.
Okay.
I sat down to write the regular leadership book, like 10 Steps to Being a Great Leader. Yeah. And it was very unfulfilling. I'm just going to be honest. I was like, I don't want to read this book. Nobody's going to want to read this book that I write. There's too many books like this already.
Yeah, yeah.
So then I sat down and I was like, well, what do I want? I was like, I want to be creative, and I want to be original, and I want to have fun, and I want to give great lessons to people. And so I end up with 14 characters. They're creative monologues. Ooh. These are not the secrets to great leadership. These are the secrets of our fears, our foibles, our challenges, our struggles, to realize that we're not alone, that every single one of us has this journey, and we're just trying to figure it out.
Oh, I love that. Okay, good. So the secrets leaders keep?
Yes.
Okay, good. And Amy K, they can find you at amyk.com, and on your soon to be on the website if you're not already, depending on when this airs.
Super.
And thank you. This has been
Thanks for having me. I'm so honored. Thank you.
Absolutely. We will see you soon. Bye.